In real life, the equivalent to a gender-changing potion would be something called HRT, hormone replacement therapy. So is it possible to completely change your appearance in real life? So much so that now instead of a boy, you just become a girl? I've been taking this for a few years, and let me just tell you now, the changes I've gone through have been incredible. In my last video, I spoke about the first 30 days of changes. You should check that out if you want to see the very start. However, in this video, I'll be sharing my transformation progress, which has become more and more visible after 3 months. At first, I experienced mostly like internal changes, but as time passed, my body began to like physically change as well. If you want to know how to responsibly obtain HRT, right below the subscribe button, you can see a link to a video on how to do it with some great tips on like how to come out. What I'm about to tell you will be the most shocking, unbelievable thing. During my first 90 days of HRT, I had the most crazy changes, and it wasn't just from like the inside out. I'll touch on the like physical changes after I tell you how my body reacted to it. Mentally, when you start messing with your brain chemistry, things start to be a little different. There's lots of things that people attribute to HRT, but there's so many factors that can contribute to like changes in your life. If you are a bitch, that's probably you. Or if you're craving pickles, that's probably just you. But you're experiencing new emotions, which can also be a result of curing your depression. Or it could be like lifestyle changes now that you're taking HRT, or it could actually be like chemical changes in your brain. For me, after 90 days, I'm willing to say that like most of my brain fog, or pretty much all of my brain fog, was basically gone. Somebody didn't understand what I meant when I said by brain fog and like one of my Instagram posts. What it's like is, imagine you have a headache that prevents you from having motivation to do anything, but you don't realize that you have this headache. This brain fog is constantly in your head, preventing you from like thinking or like making good decisions. You just kind of do nothing and become a zombie. That's what brain fog would be. It could be a placebo effect that HRT cured it, or maybe it actually did, but a lot of people seem to have the same results, so it kind of seems like HRT will get rid of your brain fog. If you were depressed and everything and have all the other symptoms, then HRT will probably fix it. When you take medication like HRT every single day, sometimes you don't really notice the changes because they're really subtle and you see yourself every single day. One of the most really obvious changes after 90 days is that your libido is a lot lower. Like, you don't get turned on as much and you start to notice it. On the other hand, people will like start to describe it as like you get mood swings all of a sudden, but I think that's a placebo effect, and it could be a result of changing your brain chemistry, or it could be a result of curing somebody's depression. I'll start going into the more physical changes about like, you know, like your low libido stuff, because stuff down there starts to change. So keep watching the video if you want to know how everything else stops like changing. When you start taking HRT, you're super happy because now you're finally making changes, but you're also like extra critical on yourself because now you're like evaluating yourself at a, like with a microscopic level, making sure everything is like what's happening, what's going on. And you just kind of try to keep track of everything and you want it to be a certain way. So it's both like a really happy high and like a really low low, because now you're like really self-conscious. And that could contribute to the mood swings. And now for the physical changes, I want to be as respectful and scientific as possible. So I'm going to try using like the appropriate terms instead of like other weird terms that you might hear on the internet, like skittle titties or something. So for the physical changes, now you're going through a second puberty. After 90 days, you really start to feel it. One of the things that you really start to feel is breast growth. It becomes way more noticeable. Now your breasts are entering probably Tanner stage 2, where there's like a bud underneath the nipple. So it'll feel like there's something underneath your skin, and it does feel like flesh and everything, and the area around it does get fattier, but there's like an obvious bud underneath your nipple. It's like your hormones activate a DLC that's in your DNA, and that kind of determines on how big your chest will get. So after 90 days, you do get a little bit more like fat tissue going on and everything, but it depends from person to person to person. Like some people will get a lot more going on, where somebody will get absolutely nothing. As you can tell, I've been pretty blessed and everything's pretty good. It's amazing. Towards the end of 90 days, your chest will also start to enter maybe stage 3, where your breasts start to like actually take their shape. And that makes it really hard if you're like boy moding, where you don't present as female, where you're just taking HRT without anybody knowing or something. It's really hard because now when you wear t-shirts, there's like little bumps and stuff, and this area becomes very, very sensitive. Like, I think it actually just might be me that I entered Tanner stage 3 a little bit early because here's a secret. I've actually tried doing DIY HRT, which you should never do. You should never self-medicate. So I did it and I pissed blood and I went to the doctors. Don't do that. Don't do that. You're gonna destroy your entire body. Your liver is dying if you're peeing blood, so don't do that. When I was doing like DIY HRT without anybody knowing, part of my breast already started developing, so that's why I was able to develop a little bit faster, but I probably like damaged certain parts of my body. For a lot of my friends, they had really, really sensitive breast tissue. A shirt or like wearing a bra would be like the most like excruciating, like, oh my god, it's an uncomfortable kind of pain. Some people have also said that their skin becomes like a little bit drier, but also softer. For me, I haven't really noticed a difference. I feel like I already have good skincare. Like, it's not really that dry. Like, if I scratch myself, like, I'm pretty good. And I didn't really notice anything after 90 days, but some of you guys maybe will. One thing that I did notice, I don't know if this is physical as much as like it is like smelly. Is smell physical? Your boy smell starts to go away. It is the weirdest thing, but like you can mostly smell in your armpit that you smell less like a boy. And I haven't worn deodorant since like a long time ago. I probably should, but like it doesn't smell as bad. And now one of the biggest changes that people want is fat distribution. So women's bodies are like way more curvier. After 90 days, you start to get a little bit of like fat changes. So like maybe your butt will become slightly bigger. And also people's faces now start to change because now you have a little bit more fat going into it all of a sudden. Again, all these changes are probably different for everybody, but I started to notice just a little bit of like small changes. You don't really notice until you start wearing clothes that used to fit you and now you wear it and you're like, huh, it feels different. For some people that had hair loss, now with HRT, they're probably experiencing a little bit of hair growth. Again, this like depends on like the person, their DNA, and like their dosage and a billion other factors, but some people have gotten like regrowth in their hair, which is kind of funny because at the same time, the rest of your body hair becomes slightly less and like a little bit thinner. But like on your head, it starts to become more full again. I don't know if this is a physical change, but it's gonna be a little bit inappropriate. Before HRT, when you like shoot your load, there's like stuff that comes out, right? After 90 days, it just becomes more clear because your body doesn't produce sperm. So after 90 days, that's when you really start to notice that you're like shooting blanks. And that probably just means your estrogen is really high. Oh, and one of the... I hate this change. This is the only change that I hate about HRT is now you get like muscle fatigue. Muscle fatigue is like, it sucks. It doesn't matter how strong you are. It doesn't matter how much muscle you are. And like, it feels like you get tired a little bit easier when you're trying to do a task. Like if you're holding up a hairdryer for like a long time, like your arm gets tired a lot easier. Or if you're working out, you can't do the same workouts that you used to do at the same rate because now like I feel like you get tired a little bit faster. Your muscle atrophy becomes more noticeable. Another change that you feel is that people will say that their orgasms are different. I'm an OnlyFans top creator and I'm well experienced and all of that or whatever. I will say there's two different types of orgasms. God put a G-spot button in your butt for some reason. So if that's the part, like if you're being a bottom, that you're gonna feel something different than if you're being a top, you know what I mean? Pleasuring different areas, you're gonna get different results and get different feelings. But some people will say HRT has completely changed the way that they feel orgasms. But I think that's just like, I don't really believe that. I think it just depends on the quality and like all of that, you know what I mean? But I don't want to get too much in detail on that. Subscribe to my OnlyFans. So that's basically the first 90 days of HRT. Stuff starts to become physically noticeable and you're gonna start to feel stuff that you've never felt before. You're not gonna know what the hell's going on, but it's a good time. Alright, cool. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!